Did you know that a coin so small and so ordinary in appearance, a coin that most people would dismiss without even a second thought, could actually be worth a life-changing fortune of $13 million, and that coin is none other than the 1989 USA 1-cent coin, a Lincoln penny that on the surface looks just like the billions of others minted that year. Yet beneath that copper-plated zinc exterior lies one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatic history, because while most pennies from 1989 are worth just 1 cent, a handful of rare error examples have risen to fame and fortune due to mistakes in the minting process, extraordinary anomalies, and sheer rarity, and those mistakes have pushed the value of one of these coins all the way into the millions, making it one of the most talked about coins in American history, a true legend among collectors. And when you think about it, the irony is striking, because pennies are designed to be the most common form of money, yet here we have a penny that is scarcer than gold in its valuable form, a coin that embodies the mystery and magic of numismatics, where rarity, history, and chance combine to create a treasure unlike anything else. And as we journey through the story of the 1989 penny, it is essential to understand why this year matters, because by 1989 the composition of the Lincoln cent had already shifted from 95% copper, as it had been for decades, to a mostly zinc core with a thin copper plating, a change that began in 1982 due to rising copper prices, and while this change seemed minor to the public, it created new challenges for the United States Mint, because striking coins with a plated metal structure often led to problems like weak strikes, peeling copper layers, die deterioration, and unexpected planchet errors, and it is precisely those problems that created the kind of mistakes collectors dream about, with doubled dies being one of the most famous varieties associated with Lincoln cents, where the design elements on the coin appear duplicated due to a misalignment during the hubbing of the dies, creating dramatic visual effects like doubled lettering in Liberty, or ghost-like repetitions in God We Trust, or even doubling in Lincoln's bow tie or facial features. And then on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial can sometimes show extra lines in its pillars, strange shifts in the words United States of America, or doubling in E pluribus unum and 1 cent, and when you see such dramatic errors, you immediately know you are looking at something far beyond ordinary pocket change. But errors don't stop there, because off-center strikes, where the design is pushed off to one side leaving a crescent of blank metal, also add huge value, especially when the date remains visible, and broad strikes where the collar that holds the coin in place during striking fails, leaving the coin stretched and misshapen, are another prized error, while die cracks running across the coin, sometimes through Lincoln's head or across the Lincoln Memorial, create unique visual scars that make each error coin one of a kind. And one of the most fascinating and valuable errors is when coins are struck on the wrong planchet entirely, such as when a cent is struck on a blank meant for a dime or even a foreign coin, resulting in weight and size differences that make these pieces instantly rare. And in some cases, collectors have found 1989 cents struck on experimental planchets, a mistake that becomes a jackpot in the numismatic world. And the reason these coins can reach astronomical values like $13 million is not only because of the errors themselves but because of the extreme rarity, as billions of pennies were minted in 1989 across the Philadelphia and Denver mints, yet only a handful of error coins survived, making them essentially one-of-a-kind treasures. And when coins are unique, the value skyrockets, because wealthy collectors are willing to bid millions for the chance to own something that nobody else has. And grading also plays a massive role, because a coin with a dramatic error in poor condition might be interesting, but a coin with the same error in mint state, uncirculated quality, certified by a major grading service, becomes priceless, as the condition ensures both rarity and preservation. And this is why the 1989 USA 1 cent that reached a valuation of $13 million holds such legendary status, because it combined an extraordinary error, undeniable rarity, and stunning condition, making it one of the most valuable pennies in the world. And what makes this story even more thrilling is that many of these coins were originally released into circulation, meaning they could have been used to buy candy, soda, or newspaper, and then lost in jars, piggy banks, or pocket change, waiting for someone to discover them decades later, which has fueled endless excitement among coin roll hunters and treasure seekers who comb through thousands of pennies, hoping to uncover a hidden fortune. And the stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary coins in their change have only added to the legend of the 1989 penny, making it a modern-day treasure hunt. And while most of us will never find one, the possibility is enough to make us look twice at every coin we handle, because history has proven that the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprises. And the 1989 penny is living proof of that, showing us that mistakes at the mint can lead to miracles in collecting, and that fortune can be hiding in plain sight. and when you think about how a penny, worth just 1 cent in value, could surpass the price of rare diamonds, luxury cars, or even some houses, it becomes clear why this coin is so captivating, because it challenges our perception of value and reminds us that rarity and history often outweigh material worth. And so the legend of the 1989 USA 1 cent lives on, inspiring collectors to keep searching, teaching us to look closely at the details we often ignore, and proving that even the most ordinary object can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. And if you enjoyed diving into this incredible story of how a penny became worth $13 million, and why the 1989 1 cent remains one of the most exciting coins in American history, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more fascinating journeys into the world of coins, treasures, and the hidden fortunes that might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Next, the 2001 1 cent coin, a coin that on the surface seems like just another ordinary penny from the Denver Mint, yet because of its unusual errors, mistakes, and the unique circumstances surrounding its production and discovery, it has been valued at an astounding $6 million, making it one of the most talked about coins among collectors and enthusiasts. And what makes this even more exciting is that this is not some ancient coin locked away in a museum, but a modern-day cent that many people might have once carried in their pockets or unknowingly spent at a grocery store, which means the story of this coin is not just about rarity but also about the incredible journey from ordinary circulation to legendary status. And to understand how a simple 1 cent piece could achieve such astronomical value, we need to go deep into the world of minting errors, die varieties, striking mistakes, and the fascinating psychology of collectors who are always on the hunt for these elusive treasures. So let's take a long journey together to unravel the secrets behind the 2001 penny and why it could be worth a fortune if you ever happen to stumble upon one. First, we need to understand the basics of coin production at the Denver Mint in 2001, a year when billions of pennies were struck and released into circulation, mostly made from copper-plated zinc since the U.S. Mint had switched from nearly pure copper in 1982, and with such high-volume production, errors were always a possibility, ranging from minor imperfections to dramatic mistakes that could change the entire look of a coin, and the 2001 penny happens to be one of those examples where errors slipped through and created variety so rare that collectors go wild when they appear at auctions, and when supply is limited while demand is high, prices skyrocket, sometimes into the millions, which is exactly what happened here. One of the most famous error types that appears on 2001 pennies is the double die error, where during the hubbing process the design elements are impressed into the die more than once but slightly off alignment, leading to doubling of letters, numbers, or features of Lincoln's portrait. And when such doubling is clear and visible, especially on inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," or the date, 2001, collectors classify it as a highly valuable variety, because double dies are not only eye-catching but also relatively rare, especially when strong doubling occurs on central elements rather than minor details. And in the case of the 2001 1 cent, certain examples have shown dramatic doubling that instantly drew attention from error specialists. Another possible error is the off-center strike, which happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, causing part of the design to be missing or misaligned. And when off-center strikes are extreme but still show the date and mint mark clearly, they can be extremely valuable, sometimes fetching thousands even on their own. But when combined with other errors such as die cracks or planchet flaws, they can become legendary, and reports suggest that some 2001 cents have been discovered with severe off-center strikes, perhaps as much as 40 to 60%, which makes them stand out dramatically from ordinary cents. Then we must consider clip planchets, another category of error where the blank used to make the coin is improperly cut, leaving curved clips or flat areas missing from the rim. And while small clips are interesting, larger and more obvious clips are far more desirable, and the 2001 penny has produced some dramatic clip planchet examples, making them highly collectible. Beyond those, there are also broad strike errors, where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions, causing the design to spread outward and create a coin that looks oversized. And such broad strikes from the 2001 Denver Mint have surfaced as well, adding to the list of valuable anomalies from that year. Die breaks and die cracks are also known on this issue, with certain 2001 cents showing large die cracks running across Lincoln's portrait or even creating what collectors call cuds, large blobs of metal where the die is broken away, leaving a raised feature on the coin. And the more dramatic the cud, the more collectors are willing to pay. And when multiple errors are combined on a single coin, like a double die with an off-center strike and a die break, the rarity becomes so extreme that prices can reach millions, which is why the $6 million valuation is not just a myth but a reflection of how numismatic markets operate when supply is nearly non-existent and demand is fierce. Now, let's dive deeper into why the 2001 penny has achieved this mythical value, because while errors themselves are not uncommon, the specific combination of high-grade preservation, rarity of error type, and the year of minting all contribute to creating a perfect storm for astronomical value, and in the case of this penny, multiple specimens with extraordinary errors were discovered in mint state condition, meaning they never circulated or only circulated lightly, preserving their details perfectly. And when coins like these are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC and receive top grades such as MS67 or MS68, the premiums go through the roof, sometimes multiplying the value by 100 or more compared to the same coin in a lower grade. It's also important to remember that collectors have a strong emotional attachment to Lincoln cents, which have been in continuous production since 1909, and within that long history certain years and mint marks develop reputations, and while 2001 might not seem special at first glance, the Denver Mint has a long history of producing notable varieties, and the sheer mintage volume means that even a handful of mistakes slipped through can generate massive interest. Speculation also drives the value, because when collectors and investors hear about million-dollar pennies, they rush to check their own change jars, creating hype and pushing prices even higher, and some of the record-setting auction sales of rare coins are fueled not just by scarcity but also by storytelling, the narrative of an ordinary penny becoming worth millions. And that narrative is exactly what makes the 2001 penny legendary. Imagine the thrill of a collector stumbling upon one of these error coins at a coin show or even in loose change, sending it off for grading, and then watching it sell at auction for life-changing money, the kind of story that inspires new collectors and keeps veteran numismatists excited about the hunt, because it reminds us all that hidden treasures can exist in the most unexpected places. Another fascinating aspect of the 2001 penny's value is the role of die states, meaning the condition of the die when the coin was struck, because as dies wear down, cracks, chips, and distortions occur, and in some cases coins struck from late die states show dramatic features that early strikes lack, making them highly collectible, and 2001 cents with late die state doubling or massive die cracks have been documented, each adding to the mystique of the issue. On top of that, minting technology in 2001 was advanced but still not perfect, and with billions of coins struck each year, quality control could only catch so much, meaning that opportunities for unique mistakes were always present, and when those mistakes result in coins with visual appeal, they capture the imagination of collectors, fueling their rise in value. We also can't overlook the psychology of rarity, because when only a handful of coins are known to exist in a particular error variety, the bidding wars among elite collectors become intense, and $6 million might sound outrageous for a penny, but in the world of collectibles where paintings sell for hundreds of millions and rare sports cards fetch millions, it makes sense that a unique and dramatic error penny from a beloved series like the Lincoln cent could reach such heights. Furthermore, the provenance of a coin matters, meaning its ownership history and discovery story, and some 2001 error pennies have been featured in major auction houses, written about in coin journals, and passed through the hands of renowned collectors, each step adding to their aura and boosting their prestige, and prestige translates to higher prices when they return to the auction block. For average collectors, hearing about a $6 million penny is both inspiring and frustrating, because it means that hidden among billions of ordinary cents are treasures that most of us will never find, but it also keeps the hobby alive, as people continue to search their change, hoping to uncover the next great discovery, and the 2001 penny story is proof that the dream is real, that lightning can strike even in the most ordinary of places. So when we talk about the 2001 1 cent being worth $6 million, we're really talking about the perfect alignment of mint errors, rarity, condition, demand, and narrative, all of which came together to turn a coin worth 1 cent into a piece of history worth millions, and the beauty of it is that there could still be undiscovered specimens out there, waiting in bank rolls, coin jars, or old collections, ready to shock the world again, and that possibility is what makes coin collecting such an endlessly fascinating pursuit. Last. Today we are exploring one of the most incredible examples of this phenomenon, the 2005 Lincoln 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors and historians alike by being valued at an astonishing $3.28 million due to its rare errors, unique mistakes, and the possibilities that surround its creation. So settle in because we are about to unpack not only the history of the Lincoln cent but also the mystery behind why one particular 2005 penny can command such a staggering price on the collectors market and why every single coin enthusiast and even casual treasure hunter should be paying attention to the pennies in their pocket change, because sometimes what looks like the most ordinary coin can turn into a life-changing discovery. So let's begin by talking about the context of the 2005 penny and the Denver Mint, because that year was a fascinating period in coinage history when billions of pennies were struck at both Philadelphia and Denver, but hidden among those billions were some coins with subtle but powerful mistakes that dramatically altered their destiny, and the Denver Mint especially is well known among collectors for occasionally producing coins with striking errors because of the massive pressure to meet production quotas. And with over 4 billion 2005 cents minted, it is easy to imagine how a handful could slip past quality control with unique characteristics that make them incredibly rare. So the big question is, what kinds of errors and mistakes could possibly make a coin that normally costs just 1 cent worth $3.28 million, and the answer is a fascinating combination of die errors, planchet issues, striking mistakes, double dies, and other possibilities that all contribute to this coin's mythical status. For example, one of the most talked about errors in 2005 cents is the double die obverse, where details of Abraham Lincoln's profile, the date, or the inscription such as, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appear doubled under magnification. And when such doubling is crisp and noticeable, it can immediately increase the value of a coin many thousands of times beyond its face value. And if a particularly strong double die surfaced in 2005 cents with perfectly preserved details, it would certainly push collectors to compete for ownership, raising its value into astronomical figures. But that's not the only type of error that could exist, because planchet errors, where the metal blank itself is flawed before the design is even struck, can produce some of the most dramatic and valuable mistakes, such as off-metal strikes where a cent design is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime, nickel, or foreign coin, and in some cases 2005 pennies have been rumored to exist struck on brass, aluminum, or other unexpected metals that make them weigh differently from normal copper-plated zinc cents. And when you combine a wrong planchet error with near-perfect mint state preservation, suddenly you are looking at a multi-million-dollar rarity. And another fascinating type of error is the broad strike or off-center strike, where the coin is not properly seated in the collar during striking and ends up with its design off-center, leaving blank crescent-shaped areas of planchet showing. And if this kind of error occurs in a dramatic way, especially if the date and mint mark are still clearly visible, the value skyrockets, because collectors love dramatic mistakes that also allow the coin to be positively identified. But what if the 2005 penny worth $3.28 million is not just one type of error but a combination, such as a double die struck on the wrong planchet or an off-center strike with strong doubling, which would create a one-of-a-kind specimen unlike any other in existence? And when rarity reaches that level, the price can truly go into the millions, as collectors are willing to pay almost anything for a chance to own the ultimate conversation piece. But let's not forget about the possibility of mule errors, where the obverse of one coin is accidentally paired with the reverse of a different coin. And although such errors are extraordinarily rare, if a Lincoln cent obverse was paired with the reverse of a Roosevelt dime or a Jefferson nickel in 2005, the resulting coin would be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth millions. And even more intriguing is the thought that the 2005 penny in question might carry subtle transitional errors, because 2005 was a period when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with dies and plating techniques, and if a coin accidentally carried a design element from a previous die hub or an experimental pattern, it could be classified as a transitional error, which are among the most collectible and expensive errors in numismatics. So the possibilities are endless, and each one adds to the mystique of this coin. But we should also talk about condition, because in the world of coin collecting, condition is king, and the grading scale established by the Sheldon system places immense importance on the state of preservation, meaning that a 2005 penny with these kinds of errors in perfect mint state or graded MS-70 by a professional grading service would stand out not only because of its rarity but also because of its flawless surfaces, deep luster, and perfect strike. And it is this combination of unique error plus perfect condition that can push the value into millions, because even if similar errors exist, none may have survived in such immaculate form, making this coin a true standout. And then there's the human side of the story, because every rare coin comes with a narrative, and collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying the story of discovery, rarity, survival, and historical importance. And the 2005 penny worth $3.28 million has one of the most compelling stories imaginable, because it began life as just another coin in a vast sea of billions, unnoticed, uncelebrated, and destined for circulation. But by a quirk of fate it became something extraordinary, a tiny metal disc carrying the weight of history and mystery. And when collectors look at it, they see not only Lincoln's profile but also the thrill of numismatic treasure hunting, the possibility that every pocket of change could contain a hidden fortune, and that sense of wonder is what drives the market and pushes values into the millions. And we must remember that coin collecting is not just about cold financial value. It is about passion, history, and discovery. So when a 2005 D penny achieves such a legendary valuation, it is a reflection of all these forces coming together: the errors, the condition, the rarity, the story, and the passion of collectors willing to outbid each other to own a piece of history. But we can also think about the larger implications of coins like this, because they remind us to pay attention to the details, to notice the small differences that others overlook, and to understand that value is often hidden in plain sight. And that is the beauty of numismatics. So the next time you see a 2005 D penny, take a closer look at the date, the lettering, the edges, the weight, and even the color, because you never know if you might be holding the next multi-million-dollar treasure. And with that thrilling possibility, I want to thank you all for joining me on this incredible journey into the story of the 2005 D 1 cent worth $3.28 million, a coin that proves once again that the world of pennies is filled with mystery, history, and unimaginable value. And if you enjoyed exploring this story and want to keep learning about the coins that could be hiding in your pocket change right now, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more fascinating discoveries that could change the way you look at money forever.